You just heard Tom so perfectly lay out the two different versions of this story. Let's just assume for a second that the police officer's version is true. That would be the version most in favor of him, right? Would that version even justify the use of force under Missouri law against an unarmed person?
Let me be very careful to say the problem with all of this is that what we don't have now, so that we can't build this into the narrative that we're talking about, is we don't have the logistics, we don't have the medical examiner's report, we don't know what they did in terms of the car itself. Well, that's a good question, but those things are not there. And those things have to be done in time. There's a process that people follow in these things. And again, labs do this work. It takes time to do these analysis. I mean, there's toxicology questions. The medical examiners have to do all this work. That's not something that gets done in a week. So I have to be really careful to say, given the narrative that you have given me, which is a fairly narrow scope there. Okay?
Right.
If all I'm doing is pulling up on this young man and I'm jumping out of the car, do I have authority to discharge my weapon and to use deadly force to kill him? No. But we don't know. We don't know what all the other facts are. And that's the problem with speculation.
And of course, part of the reason, to Natalie's point, we're speculating because we don't have the other information, Paul, which they're not revealing because they say it's part of the investigation, which is a separate question.
Takes time.
But do you agree, Paul, that it's a punt? They should just put it all out there right now, put the autopsy report out there. So we can see, for example, whether this young man was shot in the front or shot in the back.
Well, I'd also like to see toxicology to find out what he had in his bloodstream. I want to see all of those things. Yeah, and it's why, and Natalie Jackson knows this because she tries cases, one of the charges a judge gives to a jury is, don't make up your mind until you hear all the evidence in the case. And you know what we don't know? Do you know? Because we're not the jury, Natalie. We are not the jury. We are not the jury, and we have a right. Okay. And my point is, if I could just
violations of the citizens of Ferguson, Missouri are going through. They are being fed information piecemeal that they recognize is only beneficial to the cops. That is not fair.
It should be transparent. Their complaint is that they're not getting any information, and Ferguson isn't doing the investigation.
Neil, go ahead and respond.
Aaron, let me tell you this. Ferguson's not doing the investigation. It has been removed to St. Louis County Police. That is an entirely different agency. Ferguson doesn't have the information other than they had apparently the original video.
And what is it that we don't have? We don't have the officer's statement as to what was going on. It's the crucial piece of information.
So we asked today and we confirmed that all Ferguson police officers have tasers and they have pepper spray. So there were other things that this police officer theoretically could have used.
Wait a minute. The police have said now that Michael Brown was somebody who had just robbed a convenience store.
Which they say is unrelated because the officer that shot him was not even aware that he robbed the store.
It's totally related because what was going through Michael Brown's mind when the cop pulls up may have been, oh my God, I'm being pulled in for the robbery. So that could have caused him, let me finish please, that would have caused him possibly, we don't know, to become more violent with the cop. The gun is discharged. The officer's gun is discharged. Well, how do we know? We don't have all the witnesses.
We have 3 witnesses who have said so. Why are you so quick to
those same
discount
witnesses,
3 witnesses
those
who
same
do not
witnesses
know each other, who do not know him? Only one of them knows him.
Did any of those witnesses know about the robbery?
1 second, Natalie, one of those witnesses, of course, was with him in the convenience store and was not honest about that.
Didn't mention the
credibility.
What about the young lady who came out that had the exact same story? What I am saying is that you have 3 eyewitnesses who have told you what happened and who have sort of similar corroborating stories. And you have the story of a local officer. Why does his story weigh more than 3
because we haven't had a trial yet. And it's wrong to hang anybody until there is a trial.
This is about an arrest. What do you...
You're going to base an arrest on 3 witnesses, not knowing what the other witnesses said.
All the time.
Well, the only thing I'll say...
That's not the way justice works in this country.
Natalie, somewhere along the way, you have to stop and you have to look at all the information. You know, there's other things that we haven't talked about. There were 911 calls, and there would have been dispatch tapes that would have at least indicated what was put out over the air. All of those things create a footprint, and those are things that you have to consider along with toxicology, along with the medical examiner's reports. All of those things are necessary before you really understand everything. And we can't sit here right now. We can't sit here right now and say it's enough that one person has said something. Certainly, the annals of history and the law in the United States have indicated sometimes people embellish.
Yes, that's certainly true. Thanks very much to all of you. I will say this, though, of course, they haven't released any of that information that Neil is talking about. Out front next, we now know the name of the officer who fired the shots that killed Michael Brown, and you're going to hear from one of his friends next. He's been a complete mystery until right now. Plus, the World Health Organization says Ebola, the outbreak, is much worse than thought. So why is an American doctor headed to the hot zone right now? A special report.